on the Fringe with Dan radio style. Hope everybody out there's having themselves a great day. Weird happenings. This little thing that happened at first I was tripping. Then fortunately I actually had a meeting pop up and some crap happened I was unaware of that I was going to start a little bit ago, and some interesting news transpired around this. Well, let's call it a rendezvous for the moment. All said because I had the thumbnail created, but it's not far off. I don't think there's shenanigans. I think J.D. Vance was actually trying to get a chance to talk to her. It's very, very cool. We've got some other crazy stuff going on right now. We've got a bunch of election-oriented stuff through the states, some interesting races that maybe people got primary that you'll be happy about. We've got some weird stuff to report. The world is not yet fully gone crazy, but a little bit. We've got some of the standard posturing by the deep state. So much going on. So much going on. I'm going to go ahead and try to tell you about it. First, though, Trump's War Room put this out. Day 17, Kamala hasn't done a single interview or a single press conference since she forced Biden off the ticket. Day 17, still hasn't done a press conference, like a presser, like a real, actual thing, instead of her just to somebody. RNC Research posted this. Biden, who has done fewer interviews than any president in modern history, recorded an interview before Kamala Harris since he's been ousted. He's going to be showing up on CBS Sunday morning, August 11th. Nothing from Kamala yet. Or Kumbala, I think they're calling her, right? So Politico back June 12th, 2024, just almost 2 months ago, they said voters have real doubts about Kamala Harris as potential president, poll says. Oh, and then interestingly, in this particular case, a month and 9 days, 11 days later, a month and 11 days, now Politico's headline, Harris neck and neck with Trump after campaign launch, new poll finds. News at 11. This is retarded. Now, there are a lot of people on our side of the fence that are freaking out right now that actually think Harris has a chance. And it's because of this. It's given hope to a bunch of people, but believe me, that hopium literally is going to deflate quickly and continuing to, but especially as we continue to, I'm not going to borrow his term because he's using it relatively in a different way, but as we keep airing their dirty laundry, but that's what Elon Musk is saying. Chris Pavlovsky from Rumble, he is tonight at 1:30 p.m. Eastern on Fox Business. I'm going public with some of the advertisers who have openly told us they don't want to reach half of the USA. First off, good job, Rumble. Half the USA. That's really big, considering it's a second-rate site. And I'm not saying second-rate. I've been all in. You guys know that. And it's my biggest channel. Got kicked off YouTube, and I went all in on Rumble. A lot of people spend a bunch of time trying to create additional accounts and do all this, try to stay on YouTube. Got to stay on YouTube. I just went all in. Maybe it's why. I don't know. I've got a tight audience. I don't have the biggest audience. I'm not even close. But I think I have the best audience. You guys are tight-knit. You guys, there's a huge chunk of you guys. Like, I do a shitty video, I get a base number of video views, right? I do a really good video, I just get a bunch more. But there's like this giant core of you. It blows my mind frequently. I love you guys and thank you guys. Actually, a bunch of you, if you could just hit that thumbs up too, by the way, helps a lot. And make sure you're subscribed if you haven't, and hit that bell notification. Helps you find out when I put my videos out. A lot of people, they want to know. They want to know the second it's out there, baby. Donald Trump, truth this. On Monday night, I'll be doing a major interview with Elon Musk. Details to follow. That will be huge. It'll probably blow up the space. I don't know. Maybe do it live? I don't know. That'd be fun. We'll see. Whatever the case is, I'll be probably watching it. I might maybe try to stream it live too. I know a lot of like my friend the Alpha Warrior and some of the other people that are affiliated, I know are going to be doing their own versions probably, which they should be. I don't know. It'll be fun. Whatever. We'll see. It's a ways off. We'll get there when we get there. Vice President Kamala Harris and Second Gentleman Doug Emhoff cut checks to a progressive legal group that pushed to defund the police and make Washington, D.C. a permanent sanctuary city for illegal immigrants. Legal Aid DC. It's a nonprofit organization in the district that works on housing law and represents low-income clients in other areas. Received a $1,000 donation from these guys. This is from their tax return that is out. Let's see. News of the donations, which have not been reported until now, comes as Harris faces scrutiny on 2024 campaign trail over her support in 2020 for defunding the police and her handling of the border crisis. So this just kind of continues to feed that narrative that she wanted to defund the police. She wants less police. Crime right now is out of freaking control, and we've got criminals streaming across the border because they've opened it up for everybody to come. And they don't want to punish anyone. And so we've got people literally running into stores in San Francisco, her area, running into stores and stealing whatever they want. Businesses are literally shutting down and pulling out of these cities. And there's many of the people in city hall and stuff are like, what? How could you do that? It's like, we can't afford to stay in business because you allow everyone to steal and then you put them back out on the street and they come do it again. That's not how business works. California's got to figure their stuff out, or we got to get these leaders out. But again, a lot of this is through the fakery that happens. So I don't know if we'll get it done by this election, but I'm sure by the one after, probably. We'll see. It's going to be very interesting how this all plays out, at least in this crazy state. President Trump, the 2024 GOP presidential nominee, said Wednesday he will debate Vice President Harris, the Democratic nominee, in the pretty near future. Said this past weekend, Trump said he would no longer participate in the September 10th debate on ABC News with President Biden. That was the agreement. That's what he's canceling. Harris keeps trying to make it sound like, well, that's hers now. And it's like, no, it's not. That was never yours, and the people never voted for you anyways, Harris. So, no, we're going to set up our own agreement, and we'll see what that is. We'll figure it out in the pretty near future, I guess. And he says, this is a Trump quote, I hear she's sort of a nasty person, but not a good debater, sorry. Fox and Friends, this is what he told them. He says, but we'll see because we'll be debating her, I guess, in the pretty near future. I don't know. We'll see. I don't think she wants to. I don't think she can. I think she'd get destroyed. Guys, we had a big bump in the day night when it came to the stock market. There's a lot of bad numbers that are coming out, and there's been a lot of massaging of these numbers, and they keep downgrading that, but they do it like after the effect, a week or two later, so nobody really knows about it. If you're sitting in the deep state system with your wealth, meaning you've been pumping money into your 401k and your IRA for many, many, many years, if it's being managed by BlackRock, Vanguard, Fidelity, any of these crazy big companies, it's being managed by the deep state. Your wealth is at risk, and you'll be one of the last people probably to find out. It's funny, all the apps that went down, I showed this yesterday, all the apps that went down during Monday was all your Fidelity, all the apps, a whole bunch of them for the apps for investing. That's how it works. Now, if you've got a guy helping you, we had a thing for Rumble shares. I had a little money I've squirreled away, so I'm like, all right, if this many number of shares shows up and it hits this low price, then I'll buy it. And we put that in, and I was actually starting to wonder if it ever happened. But the crash on Monday dipped the stock down below that price for long enough for me to pick it up. So again, if you've got someone that's helping you and you're working directly with someone and it's not being managed by the deep state, investments in the stock market can make you a crap ton of money. Now, you're not making wealth right now. You're actually going backwards because the stock market's very flat relative to inflation. It's a big, long thing. I'll try to share that video again someday. Mark Moss did it. Brilliant. And it really helps understand how as they print money, it destroys the value of the existing money, which is what we call inflation. But inflation's so high, it actually is taking a bite out of the overall prices, right? The housing prices have gone up insanely high, but that's because inflation. And when you factor that all in, it's the same bill of goods for just way more money, which means money's not worth what it was. You can't buy as much with it. So your stock market that's been capped at about 50,000 or just under, right? 40, whatever. It's been sitting there forever, never really going any higher. But inflation's just taking a bite out of it every day. Precious metals not having that same problem. Precious metals actually going up in price, going up in value. It's going up in price more than the inflation. It's one of the few things that is. Bitcoin was too. It was doing really, really well, but it took a big hit when a bunch of people, a bunch of companies and countries and whatever took money out of it. So that I don't know where it's at the moment, if it sort of flattened back out a little bit. But yeah, it is. It happens. Doesn't really with gold. Didn't. Price kind of stayed the same. Actually went up a little bit. It was right around 24 again. Gold's going to get through this, and then it's liquid, so you can move it into wherever we end up, right? If we end up with Treasury notes instead of Federal Reserve notes or whatever, then that's what you switch it into. Go to drslikesgold.com, drslikesgold.com. You've got a 401k and IRA in their system, tax-free, penalty-free. You can get out. Go to drslikesgold.com, drslikesgold.com. It's physical metal. It's in a trust. It's literally moved straight over with no taxes, and the extra fees, right, when you cash it out early. So no cash is no fees. DRSlikesgold.com, DRSlikesgold.com. Invest in something that's moving in the right direction until all this nonsense is done, and then we can handle it from there as well. It's all going to work out. Go to my good friends at Goldco. They can help you through that. Also, if you're sitting on some cash, I do recommend investing in as much precious metals as you can. Silver's kind of fun because you get a lot of coins, and they're almost, if you think about S hitting the fan, and you walk up to someone's house, I always say this, if you have an ounce of silver, and you're like, yeah, can I have a can or two of the Dinty Moore I know you got? And they'll be like, totally, that's a fair trade. You don't want to walk up with an ounce of gold because you can't cut it in half, and it's worth a hell lot more than that, right? So there's a lot to be said about silver just because of how easy it is to hang on to. Plus, it's undervalued as well. DRSlikesgold.com, DRSlikesgold.com. Goldco's got a huge number of suppliers that they're able to get from and get it back to you. And again, this is a fabulous company. I have a customer as well. Gotten gold sent to me, silver. I think it was silver. DRSlikesgold.com, DRSlikesgold.com. Take care of your wealth before they take it away from you. And they seriously want to. All right, so interesting information. So-called President Biden hasn't even bothered talking to the families that got injured by the attack in Iraq from Syria or whatever. And they think it was from Iran, some rocket attack that happened, and it injured some U.S. members. We talked about it, I think, yesterday. Kirby talked about how, administration hasn't actually reached out. Again, who's actually in charge? And nobody's doing anything nice or good or kind. What is going on, right? Felony charges dropped against the teen who drove the scooter over the Pride-themed crosswalk. Now, the funny part about this is the crosswalk, they're considering this a hate crime, right? It's a hate crime because of the gay Pride crosswalk. They did skid marks on it. But my question, I guess, would be, why is burning the flag then not considered a hate crime? Because that's against people that really, truly love this country, and that's what you're kind of trying to make a statement about, right? At least a lot of times you are. I know sometimes they're mad about Israel or whatever, and they're pissed off at the actual country itself. But why is that okay, but I can't skid mark on your little rainbow? Why is that? Seems strange, a little bit. Needless to say, they, I think, dropped the charges. One, because it was so double-sided. Then this thing would probably never hold up, and it's just going to look bad for them. And of course, it's happening in, was it Spokane, Eastern Washington? Got to go figure. Spokane, the wannabe Seattle, and seriously wannabe. A bunch of crap with Kamala. She's quite literally a communist. I don't know if I'll be able to listen to all of this. I made it through almost a minute the first time. We'll see how much I can take it. You probably won't want to hear it either, so just prepare, get your vomit bag ready. You'll be fine.
It has to be about a goal of saying everybody should end up in the same place. And since we didn't start in the same place, some folks might need more. Equitable distribution.
Giving resources based on equity, understanding that we fight for equality, but we also need to fight for equity, understanding not everyone starts out at the same place.
So there's a big difference between equality and equity. Equality suggests often everybody should get the same thing. Well, that often assumes everybody started out in the same place, as opposed to equity, which is everyone should end up in the same place. And if you then understand not everybody started out in the same place, you understand some people need more. So we all end up in the same place, right?
We are proud.
Yeah, I can't. I mean, I think that was as far as I made it last time. I'm like, So, equity. Equal outcomes, not just equal opportunity, equal outcomes. That's full-blown communism. That's 100% communism. And what that does, just to break it down for people that are like, I don't understand why that's a bad thing. Everyone should get an equal thing, right? Now, here's the difference. How many people out there do you know that are, let's call them lazy for the sake of argument, don't want to work, don't have a job, don't give a crap, doesn't want to do anything? You're telling me that they should have the exact same outcome as me, who I work 2 jobs, I put in easy 12 hours a day, oftentimes much more than that, and I make what I make. So you're saying this other individual who does nothing should have the same outcome as me. What happens is people like me stop trying and stop giving a crap. And that's what happens with communism. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work. There's no motivation for anybody to do a good job. Businesses would open and close. They got paid. They didn't care. You came in, you got treated poorly. What are you going to do? Go sit in line. We're not going to serve you now. We don't like you. You just learn to play the game. It's not a fair way to go about things at all. So equal opportunity, 100% on board. Equal outcomes, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And I don't believe all people deserve the same outcome because not all people put the same effort in. Effort equals outcome. A lot of cultures get it. Some cultures don't. And the cultures that are screaming the loudest about equal outcomes are the cultures that generally are kind of not hardcore in school, have a lot of broken family issues going on, have general problems like that. And instead of, well, this is what the government's managed to do over the years by making them victims and putting them in a box. And again, it's the system. It's the way they manipulate people. You can't blame them, but this is where we're at. So she's hardcore communist. Minnesota National Guard confirmed the VP nominee, Tim Walz, by the way, was demoted. He actually did not, like he claims, did not actually retire with the rank of Command Sergeant Major that he claimed for years. He was actually demoted. Still, it seemed had a reasonably good rank. He had Master Sergeant in 2005 for benefit purposes. Apparently, he didn't finish his schooling at the U.S. Army Sergeants Major Academy, so whatever. But he apparently did, was in the National Guard, and apparently they're kind of saying he didn't go to the Gulf or whatever, but at the same time, he was like in there for like 20 years, man. I don't know. I mean, you'd think he would have gone because he had all that experience. Needless to say, he is a hardcore, full-blown communist as well. Here's some proof.
I think we need to push back on this. There's no guarantee to free speech on misinformation or hate speech, and especially around our democracy.
Oh, okay. So anything that goes against the majority is, well, misinformation. It's technically malinformation, but if they call it malinformation, it implies that it's actually correct. So they call it misinformation because it makes it better for them, for their narrative. But that's always the thing. We got community notes and all that fun stuff. Someone puts out something stupid, which many former blue checkmark people do frequently and constantly get hammered by community notes. Yeah, it's good for democracy that way. Communist, Tim. Oh my God, this is the hardest hardcore leaning, left-leaning administration ever in the history of administrations. I'm sure I'm stealing Trump's words from somewhere. Tim Pax, this is kind of the fun meme that's running around right now. This is, of course, referring to the vice president candidate to be. He, in the schools, for boys' restrooms, insisted that they have tampon machines installed, because boys have periods too. Now, I'm going to say, how many chicks that want to be boys or are trying to transition to men, how many of them do you think actually go in the men's bathrooms and stuff, especially when they've got a female problem going on, right? Don't you think they probably go in the other bathroom because they're still sort of worried about getting beat up by a dude? But how many dudes that are transitioning to women would probably go in the woman's bathroom and do all sorts of crazy stuff? I know, right? That's typically where you see that behavior, interestingly enough. So again, even from that standpoint, made sure they were in boys' bathrooms. Just kind of weird, but whatever. This is Tim Pax for you. That's what they're going to do. Kamala chaos reigns supreme as she ducks and bends, is what Trump and Vance's campaign is saying. They say it has now been 16 days since Kamala Harris announced her coup of the Democrat nomination, yet she continues to duck the press and run away. It's day 17, actually, but whatever. After Kamala's selection of Tim Walz that solidifies the Democrat ticket as the most dangerously liberal in American history, she knows she bent the knee to the radical ideology of open borders, soft on crime policies, and Hamas terrorists and sympathizers. That's why she's too much of a coward to face the press. With all this ducking and bending, the media should ask Kamala how low is she willing to go to destroy America. This is what Stephen Chung has been asking. Here's J.D. Vance talking about what really bothers him about Tim Walz, because Tim Walz said he was kind of putting him down for his service to the country or his desire to help the country.
When the United States Marine Corps, when the United States of America asked me to go to Iraq to serve my country, I did it. I did what they asked me to do it, and I did it honorably, and I'm very proud of that service. When Tim Walz was asked by his country to go to Iraq, you know what he did? He dropped out of the Army and allowed his unit to go without him, a fact that he's been criticized for aggressively by a lot of the people that he served with. I think it's shameful.
I didn't know that part, so that actually kind of makes sense. That is pretty shameful, right? Like, you quit. That's why he quit the school early, is because that war came up. Oh, see that? I didn't know that. I came in a little, didn't have all the facts. Thanks, JD. I feel like you've helped me connect a couple dots there, sir. It was nice of you. Over 3 years ago, President Biden tasked Vice President Harris with stemming the migration to our southern border, and the media anointed her the administration's border czar. What has she done in that time to fix the worst border crisis in American history? Chairman Comer is asking CBP to hand over documents and communications with the executive office of the vice president related to either the southwestern border or illegal immigration. America deserves to know what their, quote, border czar has done to keep them and their communities safe. We're going to find out if there's anything that they've done. I think we all assume the answer to be none. Here is Junior Harris Waltz staffer Rob Flaherty. He says he's relying on the dark money to turn social media influencers into propaganda machines. Here's just a quick snippet of it. I don't know what these words are. They're coming out of my mouth. They are not real words, it seems.
What kind of coaching do you give influencers acting on behalf of the Harris campaign?
Talking points, resources, base language.
While Flaherty says the Harris campaign does not pay influencers directly, CBS News found a constellation of other Democratic political organizations that do. In May, Future Forward, the super PAC supporting Harris, hosted panels like Gaming the Algorithm and how advocacy can benefit your business.
Well, that's all sorts of craziness, right? So we see what they're trying to do. I think a lot of people are waking up to this. Getting offered money to say whatever people want, that's fine. But you're going to come across kind of as doing that. It is really hard to sell. I call it sprinkling powdered sugar on a turd. I've used this term. I think it's pretty sure it's my term. My turd. But it is without a doubt what you're doing. You're taking a powdered sugar and you're putting it all over a turd, and you're trying to make sure somebody says, no, it's delicious. That's pudding, right? Like, no, it's a turd. Yeah, but it's got sugar on it. And you're like, it's still a turd. Might taste sweeter on the outside maybe, but ugh. So they have a tough road. Like I said, Karine Jean-Pierre, I think, has the hardest damn job in the world. That, hands down, hardest job. Paul Sperry posted this. Governor Tim Walz's radical wife has a policy role in his administration and is therefore fair game. Gwen operates her own office down the hall from his capital and runs task forces with her own staff, including chief of staff, deputy chief, and a comms director. The Walzes are a package deal, just like the Clintons. Keep that in mind. This is, folks, they're going to try to steal the election. Don't worry. We know that. We're heading into the right direction. We're building a big enough audience to make sure they see just the volumes of people. January 6th scared them for that reason. This is going to be bigger, except we're not going to be in the streets. We'll be ones and zeros in the airwaves and everywhere else. This is going to be overwhelming. Overwhelming. We got this. Don't worry, guys. Keep moving forward. Keep making ripples. Keep making noise. We're making a big difference. But yes, this is what they're trying to do. Donald J. Trump truthed this out. This is the most radical left duo in American history. There has never been anything like it, and there never will be again. Crazy Kumbala is indeed crazy. I hear there is a big movement to bring back Crooked Joe. I don't know if he's saying that to mess with them, because he's not necessarily one to lie, but he does say some funny stuff sometimes that's meant to be funny. Is this that? Or is he trying to get under her skin? Or is he literally hearing the truth? And there may be some truth to what that is, by the way. Donald Trump truthing this as well. What are the chances that crooked Joe Biden, the worst president in the history of the United States, whose presidency was unconstitutionally stolen from him by Kamala, Barack Hussein Obama, crazy Nancy Pelosi, shifty Adam Schiff, crying Chuck Schumer, and others on the lunatic left, crashes the Democratic National Convention and tries to take back the nomination, beginning with challenging me to another debate. He feels that he made a historically tragic mistake by handing over the U.S. presidency, a coup, to the people in the world he most hates, and he wants it back now. Oh, I hope some drama like that comes forward. Man, that's going to be fun. Got some whistleblowers that have come forward. They're seeking an investigation of the federal air marshals for improperly targeting citizens. A whistleblower warned as early as 2021 that this was happening. The actions by the U.S. Federal Air Marshal Service have come under renewed scrutiny after additional whistleblowers came forward claiming that former Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard, a former Democrat who has been critical of the Biden administration, was targeted for surveillance of the Quiet Skies program. This whistleblower, who made disclosures to the Department of Homeland Security Inspector General and Senator Ron Johnson from Wisconsin with the help of whistleblower group Empower Oversight, discovered that his wife was labeled a domestic terrorist and targeted under a similar program to Gabbard after she attended former President Donald Trump's Stop the Steal rally at the Ellipse on January 6th. Everybody, by the way, that was in D.C. is in a database and likely being monitored still to this day. Everybody. Almost guarantee it. This is when J.D. Vance first showed up. So at first I was like, whoa, what's going on? And then trying to figure out exactly, I think J.D.'s the first guy up the front. I think that's, where is he? This dude, I think is J.D. So I thought the guy carrying the thing was J.D. at first, this guy here. And I was like, what the hell is he carrying in his own bag? It's crazy. Anyway, here's him showing up. Yeah, that's all sorts of excitement. I know. And at first I was like, what is going on? He's going out? That's her plane. That's Kamala's plane. Hey, she's not out there like waving at him or anything like that. Come on, we got drinks and stuff, having a party, and seeing like disco balls or large amounts of smoke, because she's half Jamaican, large amounts of smoke just billowing out of the doors. That's what I would expect to see. I don't know if you're actually Jamaican, sweetheart. I just don't know. Don't know for sure. Anywho. What do we know? We know some more. J.D. Vance, same tarmac as her. She apparently didn't want to talk with him, I think, is what it seems like. But here's J.D. coming up and sort of trying to scream in the microphone. I'll try to clean it up post-production, so it should sound better than what I hear right now.
Guys, how are you? Hi. So I know you're covering the Vice President here. I figured I'd come by and one, just give a good look at the plane. Hopefully it's going to be my plane in a few months, but I also thought you guys might get lonely because the Vice President doesn't answer questions from reporters and hasn't for 17 days. Have they given you guys an explanation for why she won't take questions from reporters? No? Nobody? Okay, great. Well, I hope that she changes her mind because it'd be good for the American people, and I think it'd be good for you all if she actually ran a real campaign instead of one from a basement with a teleprompter. So have a good one, guys. See ya.
What would you like to hear from her?
I'd love her to answer your questions. I'd love her to just answer what she wants to do and also explain why every single position she has changed. She pretends to be a prosecutor, yet she pretends to be a tough on crime prosecutor, and yet here she is wanting to defund the police. She's the border czar, yet she's opened up the American southern border. This is a person who has to answer the questions from the media, and it's disgraceful that she runs for you guys. It's also insulting to the American people. But anyway, we're going to go do our event. I appreciate you guys being here. I wish she paid you some more attention. See ya.
You guys remember her? Huh? You guys remember her? Let me get out of the way a little bit. Oh, you guys remember her? Who's that? Who's that little sweetheart? You guys remember that one from the shooting, right? She's the one that was having a hard time putting her firearm back into the holster. Now, I will admit, I am not trained like her. I don't do that a lot, so I know it would take me. I'd be like looking at it and make sure I don't shoot myself or something stupid, but for sure, same person. Kamala Harris, if you have something to say it to my face. So we had a little more of JD. Check it out. Oh, I guess this was just a picture. Yeah, I was expecting more. But yeah, so come say it to my face. Say it to my face. Say it to talk to the hand, right? That's basically what he should do. Anyway, J.D. Vance, if you want to point this out, this is like he got done and he walked back and then he had some more words to say, but not in the same place. Now this is like a new place where the audio is significantly better, though weirdly out of sync at first. I don't know, maybe it's better and it was just the first time I watched it. Who cares? Check it out.
And I want to just point this out before we let the media ask me some questions, that I think it's really disgraceful, both for Kamala Harris, but also for a lot of the American media that participates in this stuff, to have a person who's been the presumptive nominee of the Democrat Party for 17 days and refuses to take a single question from the American media. Now, it's well known, of course, that President Trump and I will go anywhere. We'll answer any question because we respect the American people enough to actually ask them for their vote rather than sit in front of a teleprompter, read scripted lines, and run away from every reporter and every actual citizen who's going to decide this election. I think it's a scandal, and I think the vice president should be ashamed of herself. So hopefully our reporters out there in the audience will start doing their job a little bit and going and demanding that Kamala Harris actually answer to the American people. And what should she answer for? And I think it's an important thing to point out here before I kick it over to you guys for some questions. Well, one thing she should answer for, we're in a great American manufacturing facility here, and I appreciate y'all showing up and standing behind me. But one thing we know is that you cannot manufacture in this country unless you have access to low-cost power. And we happen to be sitting on the Saudi Arabia of natural gas in this country.
Whoops. Hitting all the wrong buttons. But yes, we are very, very much capable of producing our own energy and dropping the price significantly. And that's extraordinary because that is the huge part of our inflation right now. They don't count energy into the cost of inflation because of this reason, because it fluctuates too. And it would be it's too hard to really, factor in. But the dollar has lost a lot of purchasing power relative to oil. So this problem has continued for us, and it seems to. And now we've got all these extra costs that are incurred through oil and energy and all this stuff that actually, when you get electricity at your house, for example, you're paying way more than you were a few years ago. The cost of power, if free, which Tesla supposedly has technology, but whatever, just go crazy for a second. If we didn't have to pay for anything that used power or any cost associated with power, can you imagine how much cheaper things would instantly get? Now, again, this is radical, but you've got to look at how much energy is baked in. Everything you get is trucked to a store. That's energy. Took energy to build the truck, right? Took energy to put stuff in the truck. All these things take energy. And so if you factor that out, now you're just maybe using human labor or whatever, well, it becomes significantly less expensive. The cost of living drops significantly. Now all of a sudden everything's not as expensive per se, and you get deflation. I think it can happen. It's not really ever happened before, and I don't think we want to see the Federal Reserve survive, so I kind of am, kind of leaning towards that direction, but I know it's going to be a little traumatic. We'll see. We'll see how it all plays out. Crazy stuff going on in Israel right now, but it hasn't gotten cray yet, the triple cray, right? And once you're triple crayed, there's no turning back, which they're close. We've got a reporter here talking about how Israel could be under attack at any moment. I guess we'll play this.
On the specifics.
If I may follow up on Iran just very briefly,
Sure.
And I appreciate it. Israel could be under attack any moment from.
Yeah, and Kamala hasn't talked. That's why I had it tricked out. But Israel could be under attack at any moment from Iran. U.S. troops in Iraq were injured yesterday. Why have we not heard directly from President Biden? He's still the president. Where is he? She says, you've seen the president. He's been very clear, not true, yada, yada. But anyway, so she goes on this long, disgustingly long, difficult job she has. Hamas has apparently appointed Yahya Sinwar as its new politicals chief. Yahya? Is that Yeah. I have no friggin' idea. Anyway, Mr. Sinwar, they're their new political chief. They're going to be succeeding Ismail Haniyeh, as opposed to this is more of a yay at the end. So it's always good times when you're hanging with these fellas. He was apparently assassinated in Tehran last week. He was having a good time at the moment until they think maybe it was a drone flew in through the window or something cool like that, but whatever. The group announced all this on Tuesday. This solidifies their radical direction that Hamas has taken since the October 7th attack on Israel. It just means this dude's the next guy on the target list. I'd be very nervous if I was him. Apparently, U.S. is pressing everyone, including Israel, to de-escalate. But here's the thing. Nobody listens to us. We already had a Rand talk yesterday and say that, we don't care what you're saying, United States, and also you're going to have to be a better example if you're going to try to do this kind of stuff. So we don't have any say or ability because of the administration that we currently have. We have zero say in what's happening right now in the Middle East. And we aren't really even offering weapons to Israel, so kind of making them do it on their own, which is also super jacked up. Insider Paper posted this. Iran's acting foreign minister says Tehran's response will take place in the right time and in appropriate shape. Statement. That's funny. Iran's acting foreign minister said in response. Is a response in a statement? Or anyway, maybe it's a translation thing. Maybe those mean different things to them. Possible. Here's Mr. Hammer, I think it is, telling us about how Israel and everybody's bracing for an attack. We've got forces that are moving into the area or already there or soon to be or whatever the case is. We never really know for sure. Reasonably sure they kind of saw this coming and already started moving. So my guess is they're there. All said, here's Mr. Hammer.
Past 10 months. These are all the attacks, 174 to date, that have been launched against U.S. military assets, personnel that are stationed in eastern Syria and Iraq, and especially here the Assad Air Base, which has been the target twice now in the past 4 months. And what does the U.S. do after that? How does the president respond? We wait for his answer, and right now it has been elusive. But the U.S. military, they are stocked and ready to go throughout the Persian Gulf. You see the military assets that have been assembled there in the Red Sea now, trying to fend off these Houthi attacks against ships or into Israel as well, and also the Eastern Mediterranean. So the U.S. is ready. What happens next, we do not know. Mike Al.
Was it stocked, locked, and ready to rock in the Rock when the dude, like the Marine guys, are all jacked? It's a Marine thing, right? Is that right? Stocked, locked, or what was the first one? Anyway, locked, stocked, and ready to rock. That's probably what it was. Locked, stocked, and ready to. Anyway, whatever the hell. I don't know what the hell. It's just a cool part of the movie.
When the United
all that crazy military talk that I don't know very well is what it is. So yeah, messing Israel any day, anytime, waiting on the attack. I don't know if it's going to be measured. It's just going to be serious. It's kind of the big curious part of the movie. Like, what do they do? Like, I don't know. I'm just eating popcorn like the rest of y'all. I don't friggin' know. Mexico invites Putin to presidential inauguration. Russia's Izvestia newspaper tells us he doesn't know if he's going to go or if he'll send one of his delegates. I mainly brought this up, not really because I care about the fact that Mexico's having some sort of thing and inviting Russia's president. That's cool. It shows unity, which is interesting, and maybe he's asking him for help because our administration's not helping at all with his crime problem. But whatever the case is, Putin's got to be concerned about putting himself anywhere where he could easily be assassinated. Putin and Trump are easily probably the two most hated individuals on this planet. I would throw Orban in there, which, by the way, on my vacation, I met this really elderly Turkish lady that was adorable. She was super old, so I bet she was a sweetheart. Ended up buying her a couple champagne. She spilt a bunch of it on me. It was fantastic. We had a good old time. There's like a bunch of us. I was not like hitting on her or anything, but anyway, it was a funny story. But we were talking about Orban, and she had a lot of good things to say. It's just she likes this country and loves America, and she loves her country too. It's very beautiful. All said, there's only a few people on this planet that are freaking hated. He's one of them. So, man, you got to wonder, like, does the dude, can he go anywhere, right? Like, man, talk about having to constantly look over your shoulder or have someone paid to look over your shoulder for you. Apparently, we heard from NBC News that Russia says it's battling a surprise cross-border assault by Ukraine. They were having a hard time. They acknowledged this. It's been a dramatic shift, is what NBC was reporting. And then we were getting additional information from other places that said, well, a little different. Russian President Vladimir Putin broke his silence on Wednesday on Ukraine's cross-border armored assaults into Kursk region of West Russia, they're calling it. The operation was a large-scale provocation. Quote, "We have to start with the events in the Kursk region," he said in a Security Council meeting. As you know, the Kyiv regime has carried out another large-scale provocation, firing indiscriminately with various types of weapons, including missiles, at civilian buildings, residential buildings, and ambulances. Putin and Russia's defense ministry pushed back against reports that Kyiv's forces had made significant advances in the Kursk region. Airstrikes, missile forces, artillery fire, and a swift response by units defending the state border in the Kursk region prevented the enemy from advancing deep into the territory of the Russian Federation. Again, Russia considers the Kursk region theirs now. There will be no truce that involves Ukraine getting that back. That's for sure. Russia will get to keep that part. And Ukraine continues to attack the people that are and were living there that were Ukrainians but didn't seem to like their government as much, so they attacked them, which is some would call genocide. Not cool, that's for sure, and yet they're still doing it. So Alexei Smirnov, the acting governor for the Kursk region, said on his Telegram channel that 5 civilians have been killed and 20 others injured amid fierce clashes. Though, if I remember correctly, I feel like this was initially posted on a Telegram channel that pretended to be Liz Harrington, and I knew it wasn't Liz Harrington because she's on Twitter only. Pretty sure, anyways. So it is kind of funny that I think people see names and they see legitimate stories that come out and they're like, well, that's got to be her. And it's like, that's probably not, actually. It's probably not. Niger broke off diplomatic ties, or Niger, whatever. They broke off diplomatic ties with Ukraine government. I don't know. This is very strange to me. I tried to read this. This article wasn't overly forthcoming about anything, but apparently Mali's government and Niger, they're both run by military coups or military governments at this point, which hopefully doesn't happen in this country, but that is always the backup plan. But they took power in recent coups, and they have both come out, and they've had Russians, Wagner troops helping them, but they've both come out against Ukraine. I don't know if Ukraine's behind what's been happening there, or if this is, again, just part of this awakening process, because both these countries, I believe, kicked out the French, which we know is a deep state country, one of the G7 deep state countries. And then they've now turned their backs on Ukraine. Just interesting. They've kicked us out too, I think, in one of these places, maybe. I may not have been one, because there's been a lot of places that we've had coups. It might not have been one of these ones, but I know France was involved in these two, because we pronounce it as Niger, because of the friggin' French. Yikes. All right. We got some UK stuff. I'm almost a little nervous about my UK friends. It is a lot going on up there right now. They legally aren't allowed to talk. They're playing. I feel like you're very much back in like 2020, kind of where we were going into the elections with all the crazy riots and the burning down Seattle and stuff like that. Actually, it probably goes back even like 5-6 years at this point. But you guys are going through a really painful part right now. The immigrants are saying they're going to self-police. We'll get through all the stories-wise, but it's kind of this skinny. They're saying they're going to self-police. Police are kind of pulling out. They're not really self-policing. This is actually kind of a immigrants against a regular English people. There even seems to be a case where there's a gentleman, I don't know who he was, but he was apparently saying mean things to the immigrants outside and then walked into a bar. He's now been kicked out of that bar or pub or whatever the shit you call it. So here's Scotland's former PM Humza Yousaf, and he's threatening to leave the West over sentiments opposing immigration. I'm going to play this. It's not meant to piss people off, but it's going to, and it kind of should. What it is, I think, indicative of is you've got a group of people that have an extraordinarily different culture, that went into a foreign land that had a very different culture from them, and went into that place and then demanded their culture not only be accepted, but a lot of their Sharia law and a lot of the crazy things that sort of kind of came with this really hard Muslim push into very white worlds, white places that are more typically Anglo-Christian, kind of along those lines, right? So there is this weird kind of, it's okay for me to force you to do whatever we want, but you're the one that's kind of coming and forcing into another person's culture. So you should be understanding of assimilating. And this is something that's been lost, in my opinion, lost everywhere. It's lost in the United States right now, too. Everyone wants to acknowledge where they're from, not the fact that they're Americans. I don't give a shit where you're from. Are you an American or no? Like, that's all I care about. I don't care where you came from. It's awesome. We'll ask about that in a second. But say you're an American African or you're an American Filipino or you're American. Like, I'm American first. And I get you're from another country, but if you've got citizenship here, you're American. And usually very, very proud of it. So this bothers me, this attitude that he's got. And I think this is what's common, and this is what really people need to step up against. This is that socialist bullshit. And by the way, England, Europe is full of shit with all of its socialism. You guys used to always beat us down. I've been awake a long time. It's been annoying as hell. The United States has constantly been made fun of because we just aren't as sophisticated as Europe with our socialism. Yeah, it doesn't work, does it? No. And this is why. This is one of the myriad of reasons it doesn't. Communism doesn't work. Socialism doesn't work. It just doesn't. Because ultimately you're relying on people at the top to actually be trustworthy, and they're never going to be. Anyway, here's a former prime minister, dude at the top, being a douche.
You cut me open and I'm about as Scottish as you come. But the truth of the matter is, I don't know whether the future for me and my wife and my three children is going to be here in Scotland or the United Kingdom, or indeed in Europe and the West, because I have for some time really worried about the rise of Islamophobia. I wrote a column about it actually just about a month ago, the rise of the far right driven by Islamophobia in Europe, UK, and the West. And we are now seeing the culmination of not years, actually, decades of anti-migrant, anti-Muslim rhetoric being normalized in the political discourse, now playing out in the most horrendous, violent way possible. And that genuinely makes me question whether or not my family has an existence here in the UK or not. And by the way, I'm not the only one. I've had hundreds of messages from the Muslim community saying the exact same thing.
But here's the thing. And man, at first, like the first half, I'm like, I'm going to have to apologize again, right? Because I'm like, I totally get the plight of you want religious freedoms, like you're fearful because there's people that are kind of scared and don't understand you, and people always are scared of what they don't understand. I was like, there for a half a second, I was going to say, oh man, I kind of probably maybe was being a little harsh on you. But then you fucked it up, and you talked about the anti-immigrant shit. There are millions of people being forced into our communities right now. Millions. And they don't respect the communities they're forcing into. That is the problem. And to have people get fucking pissed about it is okay. You all need to figure out how to assimilate if this is what has to happen because of poorness in the world. Now, there's way better ways to manage the problem. This is the deep state trying to destabilize. They're doing a very good job. And you as a douchehole prime minister are fucking pushing the same rhetoric. So, cheers, mate. Or whatever the fuck you say in Scotland. No offense to Scottish people. I think you guys are awesome, but that guy's a douchehole. Sorry. Hopefully that's not the best y'all got. Mimicking a policy that the West once condemned communist China for pursuing, authoritarians are now calling for X to be shut down completely in the UK to stop civil unrest. I kind of think it's funny. I actually do. I actually think that's funny. Because it's so, like, crazy communist in the socialist lands that it's so dangerous for democracy, which is mob rules, when truth is told, that they literally have to shut down the truth-telling machine, or else you guys are going to learn what's actually happening. And they can't have that. Now, I don't know the right way for you all. Like, I've been working on my side of this, our country, and many have said if the United States falls, we all fall. And you guys are much, much closer to the fall than many of us yet. But we're getting close. So cops admit they abandoned England's second city to Muslim mob because community leaders said the demo would be policed within themselves, meaning the group would police themselves. The demonstration would police itself. So don't worry about it. They had cops running away from the demonstrators that were policing themselves as they ran the cops out of the facilities. And there was a lot of, I don't know if it's the same place in this city where they were burning cars and all that stuff, but there's been some pretty extensive damage done on these mostly peaceful protests that we constantly hear about in the United States. Again, it just feels so much like the riots we had back here, man. It's just strange, and here you are. Now, this is the fun part. Maybe many of you don't get this with UK, apparently, but they have an entire police force right now that is scouring the internet to track citizens who retweet or repost messages that are anti-immigration or posting about their violence. Anti-immigration, like immigration's not working, immigration's hurting us, this is killing our economy. That's anti-immigration. You can't say that. Just think about that for a second. You can't say that in Twitter in England. I had a friend tell me they have rights. Do you? I don't think you do. I don't think you guys have freedom of speech at all. He said you kind of do like you guys. Maybe to yell shit outside, right? You guys are allowed to call people the C word. Never heard people say, you guys, Australians, like, I don't know, it's a cool little thing. You guys drop that C word a lot. I think it's a pretty powerful word. Here in the States, it gets a shoe thrown at you or worse. Chainsaw. Anything could happen. You gotta be careful. You say that word and you duck. That's all you do is drop, like someone's shooting at you. So anyway, this guy is talking about how they're literally going and tracking down people. So, yeah, 1984 calling. Just good luck, guys. Pakistani national was charged with the alleged plot to assassinate Donald Trump. We're also hearing there was an Iranian that was attempting to take out Trump. And so this is what I think we're supposed to believe, because Crooks has got that. You guys notice how Middle Eastern Crooks looked? Dude, Crooks looked so Middle Eastern. I don't know if I can pull it up quick. Can I? We'll see. So just do Crooks. I don't think it's going to work, huh? What's his first name? I can't remember the dude's first name. Shooter. Crooks Shooter. Let's see if I get lucky. Can't remember his name. There he is, right? Doesn't this dude got Middle Eastern written all over him? He has got Middle Eastern all over him. So he's obviously Iranian or Pakistani. I mean, it looks like he would have ties to those places, right? I mean, totally looks like it, especially Pakistan. He's got that very Middle Eastern kind of, or East Asian, West Asian, West Asian, I guess. I don't know. Still being stupid nonetheless. Dude doesn't look anything like any of those races, yet that's what they're floating around out there. Now, Dan Bongino obviously used to be Secret Service, which is super cool. He's talking about this. There's more whistleblowers are coming out. He says, there are massive amounts of whistleblowers at this point coming to me. Susan, Julie, you have no idea. The fire hydrant's been ran over, and information is coming from so many different people. Folks, I've had to tell a few guys, thank you, I appreciate it, but I've already heard that from someone else. If the Secret Service thinks they're going to escape scrutiny when Donald Trump wins, you're out of your mind. He, President Trump, knows where the bodies are buried. The deep state folks at the FBI and the intelligence community, the Secret Service and elsewhere, are freaking terrified. They are really scared. And they are, because they're losing. And their last attempt, really, to catch Trump is toast. I want to play this. I'm going to play it at 1.2 speed only because it's 8 minutes long, but it's really good, and it's half of an interview Trump did. He's taking some live questions when he was talking to people in Sturgis. I think just giving us an idea what his plans are, and he's definitely going to make America great again, taking some good questions. I don't know. See what you guys think. Check it out.
There was no Hamas threat. There was no Hezbollah.
And Mr. President, also Kamala Harris was the last one in the room when Joe Biden signed off on that. Meanwhile, one of your favorite people, Lawrence Jones, is live in Sturgis. Lawrence, take it away. You have some people that have some questions for you.
I love that.
Mr. President, how you doing, Mr. President? We're live from Sturgis. Say hello to so the people have some questions for you, Mr. President. I want to bring in Brett. He was talking about he has his daughter, his grandchildren now living with him, and you're concerned about the economy. What is your question for the former president?
So, Mr. President, I appreciate you giving our time here. One of the big concerns is, what are you going to do about bringing down the rent and things like that in the economy? Because out of 8 children that I'm a father and a stepfather to, 5 of them are struggling, and I'm giving them part of my income on a regular basis. How are you going to make the economy not just the the food and electricity, but bring down the rent prices, the housing prices, so that these kids can survive and without their parents' help?
Such a good question, Mr. President.
You're right. I hear it very well. And I tell you, first of all, I love the people that you're with. I know that I must have at least 99, perhaps 100% of all of them, and I think they're incredible. We are going to drill, baby, drill. We're going to bring down the cost of energy. Energy is what caused the worst inflation, I think, in the history of our country. Food prices are up 50%, sometimes more. You look at bacon. Bacon is quadrupled. You can't order bacon. You can't order anything. We're living horribly. We have the worst inflation we've probably ever had in our country, and it started because of energy. We're going to drill, baby, drill. And then we're going to have China and all of these countries that were treating us good when I was there toward that. I mean, it took me a long time to get them to behave properly. All of these countries are going to, again, stop. Like 4 years ago, I could ask you, you were in great shape. You had low energy costs. You had low food costs. Everything was good. You could buy a house. You had low interest rates, 2% interest rates. You had gasoline at $1.87. Now it's $5. And by the way, going up very substantially. But you had gasoline at $1.87 a gallon. Nobody talks about that anymore. Nobody even can believe it's going to happen. It's going to happen again. We've got to get the energy prices down, and everything else is going to be tumbling down with it, the prices, because what Biden has done to the economy is so horrible, and what he's done to inflation in our country is just very destructive.
Mr. President, it's the perfect segue. It's the perfect transition, Mr. President, because I met Linda at the airport yesterday, and when I talked to her and I said, what is the number one concern? She's concerned about Kamala Harris and her energy policy. What is your question for the former president?
Mr. President, what can we do to achieve a permanent, long-term energy solution to keep us energy independent?
Such a great question. Mr. President?
It's a great question. It's such an important question. And look, we're run by people that are not smart people, okay? Not smart people. We have more liquid gold, you've heard me say this a million times, under our feet than any other country. Russia, Saudi Arabia, you can add them all up. We have more than anybody. We were energy independent 4 years ago, and now we're begging Venezuela for oil. Venezuela, they don't even have oil. They have tar. You have to take tar, and you have to refine it. It's a terrible process. We have the best, the most beautiful, the best, highest quality oil under our feet. Texas and numerous other places. We have the best stuff. We don't use it because Biden he talks about the environment. You know, it's amazing. They talk about the environment, and yet we refine the Venezuelan tar, okay? We refine it, and it goes up into our air. It's done in Houston, the only plant that can do it. We are going to bring the energy costs down. Everything else is going to be tumbling, and we don't need energy from any other country. We have to fill up the strategic reserves again. It's down. It's the lowest number it's ever been. He's using the strategic reserves, which is meant for military, which is meant for war and very important things. He's using it to try and keep gasoline prices down, and we can't allow that to happen. We have to fill up the strategic. I was filling that up at levels that they've never seen before. We have to fill up the strategic reserves immediately. We can't let people use that to fill a car. We will have the energy prices to a point where they're as low or lower than they were 4 years ago. But remember, I had you down to $1.87 a gallon, and that was beautiful. They were good times. Thank you.
Mr. President, it was a good time. I drive a big truck, so I remember that. Got one last question for you. A lot of folks here talking about Social Security, and this gentleman has a question on that point.
Yeah, Mr. President, a lot of seniors, their only income is Social Security. Last year, they had adjustable income of 1.2%. Meanwhile, inflation was probably 7% or higher. How about making it mandatory, whatever inflation is, that would be the income for the Social Security instead of this 1.2% pathetic adjustment?
Mr. President?
I got it. It's a great question. We can do a lot of things to help the people. People on Social Security are being killed. And one of the things I'm doing is no tax for seniors on Social Security, and I'll get it done quickly. No tax for seniors on Social Security. And for all you waiters and waitresses and everybody else out there, drivers, we're not going to have any tax on tips. No tax on tips. Remember that. No tax on tips. But we're going to have no tax for seniors on Social Security. And they are ruining. They're going to destroy Social Security because millions of people are coming onto our country, and they're putting them on Social Security. They're putting them on Medicare. They're putting them on all of our things. They're destroying it. They are destroying Social Security. We're going to make, and remember, I was there for 4 years. I didn't raise the age. They wanted to raise the age. They wanted lots of things. I said, no way. We left Social Security the way it was. Now we're doing no tax for seniors. You deserve that. We have plenty of other things. I told you about liquid gold. Yeah. We have more than anybody else. We don't have to do that. We don't have to hurt people on Social Security. So we are going to do no tax for seniors on Social Security, and also no tax on tips for the waiters that are standing right next to you.
So, Mr. President, I'm going to send it back to the couch, but the people here are going to kill me if I don't ask you. They want to know, will President Trump be at the next Sturgis right here to be with the people?
Are you ready? I love Sturgis. I love it. I love it, and I love that state, and that state we win by so much. The answer is absolutely yes. I will be there. Absolutely yes.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Lawrence.
Thank you, Mr. President. Back to the couch.
That is exactly what they wanted to hear. Lawrence and Sturgis, very nicely done. And Mr. President, thank you very much for taking a half an hour to chat with us today.
Well, thank you. It was great fun.
That's probably enough. They're just going to say a bunch of closeout bullshit, but that was, again, right? Like pretty good answers, and that's what he's got going on for us, right? We want that. We want more than what we're getting right now. That's for sure. Whoops, that's not what we want. This is the one we want. MyPillow.com/OTF. Free shipping again on orders over $75. I think that was very successful. It's probably expensive, though. All said, they've got amazing products right now. Over $75, you get your free shipping. That's going to save you a ton of money. And they've got, with all these great deals, $25 towel deals all over the place. A 6-piece towel set. They've got the towel sets for dishes. I think they've got the beach ones still $25, right? Hell, they got the pet beds, the pet blankets, all $25. Pillows of all friggin' varying size and shape and use. I've got too many pillows myself. I don't know what to do with them all. Literally, I'm going to have to get a room and just throw pillows into it because I don't know what to do with them. all set. And they're not all my pillows. They're just pillows I've got. Don't get me started. Couch and pillows, recliners, all that stuff. $25. All sorts of different blankets. $25. Can you believe it? These pillows with prayers on them and like the American flag and stuff. $25. All sorts of amazing stuff. So you get a bunch of stuff. You just got to get over $75 basically. Boom, free shipping. Easy. 3-4 things. Make some gifts too. You notice how they took the slippers up. Slippers are still $25, guys. For those of you that are thinking ahead, I'm telling you, get the pink ones. All right, they got pink ones, or you get the light. They get the pink one even without the heel. Right, depending on what your wife likes, or maybe she's got some that she sort of wears outside and some that she wears inside. Maybe you get her two. They're $25, and you get free shipping over $75. Great products. Go to mypillow.com/OTF. OTF is your coupon code. Save you all sorts of awesome money and get you some of the best products to help you sleep, help you dry off, help you walk around so your feet don't get hurt, help you enjoy your sleep much better. They've got it all covered. mypillow.com/OTF. mypillow.com/OTF. Get the best night of sleep you've ever had. And you kind of actually will. The pillows are insane. And they've got the old pillows for $20 right now. The original pillow, oh man, thing's awesome. Thing's awesome. House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer is demanding a transcribed interview with employees in the Biden administration's special presidential envoy for climate office as the committee continues its investigation into John Kerry's role. Comer sent a letter to President Joe Biden's top climate diplomat, John Podesta, requesting an interview on his transition to assume Kerry's responsibilities after he resigned from the envoy position in March to help Biden's since-ended re-election campaign. Interesting. It's dirty stuff for sure, folks. And his position was likely not legal, and likely anything he does or did needs to be unraveled big time. So this whole thing of what John Kerry did and was needs to be dealt with majorly. Could be RICO stuff, I think, maybe, possibly, too. Not sure. We'll see. Secretary of State Antony Blinken allowed the department to release documents and communications on the transition after Comer wrote to the secretary on March 13th. But the chairman's desires are for an interview, I guess, to clear up the confusion on whether Podesta is the replacement for the SPEC, this particular body that's not really supposed to exist. It's got a budget and all this stuff that I don't think went through Congress. I don't know. It's kind of strange how they've done it. Something strange. Anyway, I don't remember exactly what it was. France is seeking help from the FBI. The FBI. France is seeking help from the FBI to figure out how their high-speed train sabotage has happened because people built fires in unique places. That France is asking the FBI to help them. Now, here's what my guess is. This is how I read it, like kind of tongue-in-cheek, jokingly. Probably not true. But my guess is the FBI was behind these fires. Probably 2/3 of the people setting the fires were likely FBI agents. So France is like, hey, do you mind helping us out? Because we know you did this. Maybe. That would make sense almost, right? I don't know why FBI is messing around in France. That seems outside of your budget. You're supposed to be just here in the homeland messing with our lives only. And you're going into other countries and screwing with them? That's for the CIA, isn't it? What's going on? Roles are messed up here, folks. Gender confusion, it seems. And the FBI is part of it. I don't know. It's getting crazy. The WHO director considers declaring public health emergency over the Mpox. Sounds cooler, doesn't it? No, it's monkeypox. Yeah, that's the thing that hardly anyone has ever gotten. But they want to, I guess they're having some sort of problem in Africa. Where's the one place where they do the most sleeve roll-ups that you can think of? Where's the one place where you see a lot of that kind of thing happening where they're like, hey, roll up your sleeve, even though they don't really have sleeves because aren't they all naked with flies on them? I'm not trying to be a total dick, but it seems like it. That's the pictures I all see. That's all we ever see. That or dudes with guns taking over the government, I guess. I don't know. It's a mix. But a lot of those people roll up their imaginary sleeves for these reasons, and shucks, got a strange, weird emergency, says the World Health Organization, an emergency level of Mpox sicknesses happening in Africa right now. Gosh, that's strange. So very strange. Oh, I didn't mean to do double ads like this. Apologize. All said, this is important, just real quick. twc.health/OTF. I got to fix that link. twc.health/OTF contagion emergency kit. This is really the one. Or the medical emergency kit. Both of those are actually surprisingly cool. Check those out. Go to TWC, the wellness channel, twc.health/OTF. Check these kits out. They, by the way, too, the spike formula helps attach. It attaches to the so the virus had that little cleave point, right? That's the little spiky spot. That's what they talk about, right? This actually attaches to that part of the virus, so the virus can't infect one of your cells. So that's what the spike support formula does, by the way, is it creates a bunch of these, let's call it chaff in the body. So when you get some sort of sickness going through there, especially one of the ones that seems to be manufactured, it'll actually find the spike thing and attach to one of those. And the spike thing will just pull it right out of the body. They're pretty powerful how they work. They find them. They're kind of a little more attracted to, I think, the molecule itself. So that's how they find it before it finds a cell, because it's actually easier for that. So again, very powerful product. A lot of things to consider. TWC.health/OTF. TWC.health/OTF. I swear it was an accident, but I couldn't resist because it was after the story that was why I put it there. Because they're totally going to try to jack with us. All right, damn it, I went longer than I wanted, but still, got some solid stuff going on in a bunch of states right now, and all the ones that you would expect to have these kinds of shenanigans happening, and good shenanigans, by the way. No, it's a mixture of shenanigan experiences. So sit down, relax, calm, just breathe back out. Okay, in a Colorado courtroom, lawyers for the brave clerk and recorder of Mesa County revealed to the judge that Dominion Voting Systems and the Secretary of State plotted and deleted records from the machines after the 2020 election, disguising it as a system update. This is exactly what technology experts like Elon Musk and others have been warning election officials about. Now, this is Tina Peters' case where this information is being put in record. Again, we saw the Q post. How else do you get information into the public domain? These ways. That's what's happening. The stuff with Donald Trump when they go after him, that's what's happening. Can they intervene beforehand? No, not yet. Why isn't the Brunson case up there yet? Because it can't yet. That's what's happening. I know we've got people that keep saying it's going to happen tomorrow. It's going to happen the next day. It's going to happen in 4 seconds. Whatever. You've been wrong 4,000 times, dude. Stop it. It'll get there when it gets there, but it ain't happening yet. People aren't ready for that yet. That Brunson case is a big deal. We're getting there. It's coming. We just got to raise up the energy and knowledge a lot to get people to realize how much we've been jacked in this country. Washington Post put this out. Arizona grand jurors discussed indicting Trump, but prosecutors urged them not to. They basically said, we know you want to, but we really don't have any information on it, and he's already basically been found, like it's already been dropped, and that would be double jeopardy, and you legally can't do that. So they're like, all right. So there's grand juries out there that are literally just trying to hunt waves. They're trying to find a crime. You're having grand juries, not an investigation, but you're having grand juries that hate an individual try to find a crime with that individual. That's called democracy. And that's exactly what democracy looks like, and that's definitely what it smells like. And it's great when you agree with all the stupid stuff they keep talking about. But the second you don't agree, which is going to happen to most of you, then they come after you with the same weapons. And now all of a sudden, what the hell? Yeah. Equal outcome, baby. Equal outcome. That's how it works. Jeremy Rarrell. I feel like, anyway, filter worked. Never happens. Remember when the governor of Georgia relented and allowed forensic examination of the Dominion voting machines in his state, but then his car exploded on the highway, killing his daughter's boyfriend, and then he immediately changed his mind about allowing the examination, and then the investigating officer committed suicide about 4 days afterwards? Right? I'm sure you remember that, right? So anytime you guys wonder about why the governor does what the governor does, deep state's kind of funny that way. Kind of funny that way. These guys are scared. I'm not going to play this because, frankly, it's not worth it. This guy's cool, and I love what they're doing. Apparently, the Georgia State Elections Board is discussing this SEB 2023-025. They're talking about it this morning. And he spends 3 minutes and 21 seconds explaining how there were 17,852 votes counted with no ballot images. Want to talk about that? That's very interesting. That's right there determinative. There was 11,000 difference between Trump. If they at this point acknowledge that those votes can't count legally, which they shouldn't, the election's over. Done. Trump gets Georgia. Now, technically Biden, I think, still win, but that would be enormous. They also talk about 20,713 original votes from the tabulators just happened out of thin air. Apparently no scans to go with them. There was 3,930 duplicates counted and inserted via intentional human intervention. He spent a bunch of time kind of spelling that one out in this 321. But yeah, long story short, AKA fraud. Fraud on at least these 3,930, but all of these probably. And this was way more than determinative. Even no matter what the percentage is, it has to be at least 80% Biden, but it's probably overwhelmingly higher than that. Trump still wins the state. And who knows who else, by the way. What other people were chosen, like the 2 senators? Remember them? Well, that probably happened similar. Not the same election, I don't believe. Still. Georgia Election Board says counties can do more to investigate election results. They're now putting a state election board, voted Tuesday, to require county election officials to make a reasonable inquiry before certifying the election results, meaning they actually have to kind of verify some stuff before they say, yeah, we're cool with this, because it seems like that's not really been happening. And they're trying to kind of get their elections under control. This proposed rule changes will give authority to local election officials to halt the counting of votes and slow down or even outright refuse certification if they contend there are any irregularities, essentially making the certification of election results discretionary instead of how it's been. The key word there is discretionary. This would essentially give partisan county board of election personnel control over Georgia's election results, allowing them to uphold certifying the election if they had to disagree with the results, rather than some appointed official. So this is a little different. And so we'll see. Obviously, the official didn't like that so much, but having people that are representing the people, that would help, right? So we'll see. FBI agents carry out a search warrant for Republican Andy Ogle amid campaign finance mistakes. Kind of weird if he did finance mistakes. Now the FBI is trying to take this guy down. He's probably a good dude. Kind of made some mistakes on his campaign finance disclosures. Can't imagine it's really bad and probably fine-worthy at best, but whatever. We'll find out eventually what's going on. America First Legal files lawsuit in Maricopa County alleging illegal aliens on voter rolls. They announced Tuesday it filed a lawsuit on behalf of its clients against the county recorder in Arizona's largest county, asserting he failed to remove illegal aliens from voter rolls. The AFL, their former president, Stephen Miller, served as a senior advisor to former President Donald Trump during his administration, shared in a release it is taking legal action against Maricopa County Recorder Stephen Ricker on behalf of its clients. The group is representing Strong Communities Foundation of Arizona and registered voter and naturalized citizen Yvonne Cahill, according to the release obtained by Breitbart News ahead of the official release. So we'll kind of see where that continues to move. But it would be good. And again, this is where you want all this stuff kind of to happen because it doesn't give them enough time to get around it. And that's kind of why I think there's been a little bit of a drag to get to right now. Like we're in the, just outside of 90 days, right, of the election. So, yeah, we're very close. In fact, very close, right? Missouri House District, first District 1 primary results. The person who was Democrat, who was initially there, or is there currently, you might remember her name. It's Rep. Cori Bush. Yeah, she's one of the little brat pack that they got in there, the squad, right? Well, she got primaried and lost. Now, she's freaking out. She's like, the gloves are off. She's pissed. She vows to go on revenge, talking about here how she's been radicalized now that they've taken away her spot. See, we're actually taking back our country, guys. Many people think it's like, well, the election is... No, shit's been happening like all along. I talk about it every day. For those of you that are with me, you kind of get it, right? Like, there's stuff happening. We are literally steering the largest ship ever, and it's steering... It's taken a while, but it's freaking happening. An Arizona Republican who claimed to be a legitimate elector for President Trump has pleaded guilty to filing a fraudulent electoral college certificate. accepting a plea deal for a single charge of filing a false instrument. Trump's attorney have argued that the so-called contingent electors were merely placeholders in case Trump succeeded in his challenges to Biden's election fraud, which should be legal. It will be. A lot of these people are just like, dude, I just want to be done with court. So it is playing out how it's playing out. Not cool, but it is what it is. Manhattan Planned Parenthood's going to stop offering abortions after 20 weeks. I just thought this was probably a cool story. They say they can't afford the anesthesia, which I thought was kind of a weird reason to. Maybe they made that more expensive in the state, or Planned Parenthood can't afford what it was doing because it's no longer getting government money. Don't know. But this feels like a victory because this is in New York, Manhattan, where this is happening, like the land of abortions. This is abortion land, like where I live. We're abortion land. They got like water parks and stuff to have abortions on the water slides because it's more fun. I don't know. It's being disgusting, but kind of about how jacked up the way our thinking is out here. The family of one of the dudes that died in that implosion. Remember that Ocean Gate submarine? Very sad, but billionaires on there. One of the people, Paul Henry Nargiolete, he apparently is 77 or was, and his family has sued this company, Ocean's Gate, for wrongful death. Pretty sure they'd win it, so they probably just go BK on that. I don't know how that works. I just wanted to share this really quick because I just wanted to give some information that might help you guys in researching stuff, because a lot of people talk about deep underground explosions every time there's an earthquake. I think sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. I'm going to show you an example of both. It's hard to get seismogram, I think it's technically correct, seismogram information. There's quite a few of them in the West Coast. California has a lot of earthquakes, or up just the entire West Coast has a lot of activity. They don't have them, it seems, all over the entire country, so they're very hard to come by. But it is the way to really, truly tell, and it's very easy to tell, like I said. So yes, we had a 5.2 magnitude earthquake and a bunch of aftershocks. We've been having a few little swarms lately in different places, and usually one can assume they're releasing energy, which I think they were. There was quite a few of them, though. Not a big deal. 5.2 small, and I didn't feel it. It was too far north for me to have felt it, and it was not a very big quake. Again, in places that are used to earthquakes, a 5.2 is nothing. Get over 6.0, and all right, you can start calling people and be like, "Are you okay?" Most of them will be fine. Now, here is this actual earthquake. This is the video of it starting, essentially. And I'll try to make it bigger. I guess I can. Yeah, there we go. Oh, that helps. So you can see over here on the right, the first place that seems to have showed it, I'm guessing, is the Bakersfield one. But this is the first recognition of the shock wave. Okay, and then obviously the closer you are to them, the closer that echo is going to be, the further away you are. Death Valley being quite a bit further away. Yeah, they got a faint echo, and again, much smaller. So that's how it works, okay? But what you notice is there's like a little bit of a small start, on these especially, and then it hits the spike, right? And there's always a bump. It's the one thing, well, it seems like with earthquake, there's always a bump. There's always just this big jolt that happens at some point. And then there's a lot of like calming down from that. But that jolt is usually the biggest part. And sometimes these jolts last a little while because you can tell this the seismicity stayed pretty high during this earthquake in here. And so this is just kind of one of those examples of an earthquake. It started sort of small, boom, and then the jolt happens, and then it kind of comes back down. What an explosion looks like, and this is stereotypical always, is this image right here. It is the immediately hit spike. Spike happens, bam. There is no ramp up at all before it. It is immediate spike, and then down from there because there's no more energy. The energy's been given. That is how you know it's an explosion. So for all the people that it's a dumb went down, if you can get a hold of the seismograph, which I actually got in the case of this, the other guy, right? Actual seismograph. So this is definitely not an explosion. Anyone that's claiming this is a deep underground bunker would be wrong. 100%. Here's facts. This is what an explosion would look like. Just know that. Because it'll help you all be better sleuthers when it comes to looking into this stuff. And this was actually a North Korean test recorded by China. That's how that happened. So there you go. That's an explosion. Hope you guys are going to keep fighting the fight with me. It's been a fun fight, by the way. It's been crazy. but it's fun. And I think we're going to see a lot more of it just kind of hitting marks of crazy as we move through this. The deep state's wobbling. This top is definitely wobbling. And we're living through this transition. We're already sort of steering the boat. The official election stuff starts to happen. Then seriously think about the month and a half after the results finally come out, or however long that takes. Think about the time until they actually swear in Trump and what crazy stuff they're going to try to do during that lame duck session part. It's going to be interesting. They're not done trying, but they're done being successful. That's for sure. I love you guys. Thanks for being part of this fight. Where we go one, we go all. It's on the Fringe with Dan Radio Style.